Hello, welcome to this episode of Spiritual Resilience and Personal Power Through Awareness. Today we'll talk a little bit about evolving your inner images and releasing the true self, the self that's rooted in your soul versus your ego. You carry many images of who you are that sit in a matrix of energy around you. And this matrix was created even in the womb, even as you were sitting in the belly of your mother. And there are certain schools of thought that would even go so far as to say that it goes back further than that. But we'll just keep it simple and keep it in the place of being in your mother's womb. And then from then on, it builds on. What are the images? They are pictures of reality you hold in your mind. And you use them as models to judge whether or not you are good or bad, to decide how you will act and speak, and to choose who you will be with. They also create your boundaries and limits and determine how far you can go. A lifetime is a journey out of darkness into light. Through evolving your images, you can bring more light into your life. All of you have basic definitions of who you are that you live by. This is true for everybody. And a lot of these are largely unconscious. Some of them are conscious and some of them you are aware of, but there are a lot of them that are not. One of the ones that you're conscious of and you're aware of is maybe how you're seeing yourself now, which is viewing yourself as being strong, hardworking, intelligent, fun-loving, generous, kind, and friendly. And you create your experience of reality based on your image of yourself as a man or a woman. So whichever of those you identify yourself with, your particular images determine your limits. If you view yourself as generous, for example, you will either have to be generous all the time, which is almost impossible, or you'll judge yourself harshly when you are not generous. And you can plug in any adjective here, whether it's the generousness or the kindness or strength, any of those things. When you see yourself in that way, or you hold that standard to yourself, and then when you're not able to be that way, or when you have moments where you're not able to be as strong in being that way, you will judge yourself incredibly harshly. So think of times that's happened to you. And again, your definition of yourself as a man or woman greatly influences your behavior. Sometimes this can be divided up in gender roles. Not necessarily, but it can be. An example of that is group images of women tend to involve serving, taking care of others, being responsible for relationships, being nice, and being liked. Images of men often focus on being assertive and strong and ignoring feelings. Many viewpoints of reality come from religious upbringing. So for a moment, pause and look within. Go back to your childhood and ask what images of any of the nature of the universe you carry within you that come from your religious upbringing. Perhaps you think there's a God who punishes you when you're bad and rewards you when you're good. If that's the case, you may be afraid of your shadow side. You might even think that you have no religion. Yet everyone has a religious orientation, even if it is the belief in intuition and your creative self, or a belief that there is no higher power. Some of these beliefs aren't even your own. Some of them can be buried so deep, like maybe you just don't believe in any of those things on a conscious level. But you still carry at a very deep level from your family of orientation, and even within your country, on a very deep and unconscious level, certain religious beliefs and aspects that form and determine your behavior. And I've mentioned this phrase before, it's called conditioning. Conditioning through religious or philosophical beliefs are among the strongest images people have. They determine what you think about the nature of the universe and how you respond to it. Do you imagine you will be rewarded if you are good? Do you think that certain types of behavior are good and others are not? Those ideas often are rooted from your religious background. Your parents passed many of their images on to you. You selected your parents for the images they would give you that would bring to consciousness the inner and outer self you chose to work on in this lifetime. Think of your parents for a moment. Who are they? Who were they? Think of some of their beliefs around money and abundance. Do you have feelings about those beliefs, whether they're good or bad? Think about how your parents feel or felt about their relationship to each other. Take the parent who is the same sex as you. What does or did he or she believe about being a man or a woman? Do you share those images? Or have you rebelled against those images and gone the other extreme? And why do you think you did that? Think about your parent of the opposite sex. What images does or did he or she have? And do you observe in yourself any of those same relationship patterns, or even the extreme opposite? Imagine that you're standing in the center of a circle and around you are all the people you are close to. Each friend, each person in your life holds a vision of who you are. So close your eyes and do that. Just stand in the circle of all the people that are close to you. As you're standing in the circle, allow yourself to bring to consciousness from an unconscious place the images you are receiving from your friends, your family, people that are close to you. People that it really matters to you, how they see you. Pretend now that you're facing someone you're very close to, a husband, a wife, a friend, or some other loved one. Who is this person? What pictures are he or she sending to you about who you are? And then what images are you sending to this person, both about yourself and about them? As you think of what you are sending, ask this person's soul if there are images you could send that would help this person evolve. You can help people grow by focusing on their potential. What pictures of you would you like this person to hold? Recognize and inwardly thank this person for all of the times he or she has sent you those positive images and for the ones he or she is sending you now. Affirm that you will hold a high image of this person as well. I'm going to pause this episode, and if you would like to work on several people and repeat this exercise a few times with a few different people, particularly if there's anything challenging going on right now, or even if there's not, you can also, just send appreciation. Feel free to do that before moving on to the next episode or the next section. Pay attention to the pictures you send people. Are you holding them back or helping them rise higher with your images? So in other words, when someone is doing something that you don't like, do you hold that image of what you don't like in your mind, and do you chew on it for a while? Do you chew on it for a few minutes or a few hours, a few days, or weeks, months, years? When you do that, you actually hold them in that pattern, and you don't give them the space to grow beyond that. So it's really important that you don't spend too much time hanging out in the place of seeing someone for a particular thing that they've said or done, and instead seeing them make a different choice that's more empowering to both them and you. You can evolve all of your relationships this way. People absolutely pick up the images you hold of them. Often long-term relationships cannot survive because people are holding each other in this long-term holding pattern of something they did 10 years ago. They're just not willing to change their pictures of each other. And I went through this in my marriage. I was married for 23 years, and in the last decade or so, perhaps more if I'm really thinking about it, I was really consciously working on myself and looking at my shadow and just working through my stuff. And I took major leaps and bounds toward doing that. And my partner in that relationship, my husband in that relationship, was so intent on holding a certain vision of me, whether it was ever even true. A lot of what he held to be true about me wasn't true. It was never true, much less true in that moment. It's just that I stopped accepting his images of me. I became aware of the fact that I was receiving those images, was receiving those projections, as they're called in psychology. So it's not just verbally, but in your thoughts, how you think and feel about people. And he just, and it's not that he was a bad person or anything like that. He just was unaware that he was doing it, and was also unaware of his power to change how he saw me. So, and you'll see this a lot in families as well. Like your families, like you could grow by leaps and bounds, and you could, just become like this completely different person than you ever were as a child based on their projections, and they will always only see that projection that they've always held of you. So your family members, your long-term relationships, friends that you've had for a long time, they hold that image of you. So a lot of your long-term relationships, whether they're friendships, whether they're lovers, family members, a lot of times those don't work out, and there's growing resentment between you as a result of those images, and not so much about who you are being in this moment, or even who they're being in this moment. See, you can do the same thing with them. One might hold on to an image of the other as immature based on some old story they had about you, whether it's true or not. They'll hold that as immature and irresponsible long after the other wants to change that behavior. You'll see this a lot in addiction as well. The person who's the addict, who genuinely wants to change and makes the effort to change, it becomes even more difficult for them because the people around them aren't willing to see them and the changes that they're making, which will facilitate them making even bigger changes. It's not to say that it can't be done, it's just infinitely harder. So because of that image, whatever it is, it might be harder for the other to change. So you want to create the space for them to be able to change. And if you can't see them in a positive light, then at least come from a place of neutrality. Get to a place of neutral around it, because that will also do it. All of you have experienced yourself around your parents, who may hold very old images of you that they need to update. Sometimes you go to them with your newfound strength, grown up and mature, and you find that within 5 minutes you're acting out old, immature roles. Rather than feeling unhappy with yourself, use the opportunity to look at the images your parents hold of you and realize how affected you can be by other people's views of who you are. I'll give you a really strong one, and it's one that is so deep that I still have to work on it from time to time. My parents carried an image within them that was clearly passed down to them, that children are seen and not heard, and that children in a household are not as important as the adults in that household. And the crazy thing about that is that once you absorb that into your psyche, then that carries over into adulthood. So not only is it possible that you may carry that image about your children, that they're not as valuable, that their voice or their opinion isn't as valuable as yours, but you also carry that opinion and belief about yourself, even as an adult. And you'll attract relationships to you of people that don't view how you feel as important as how they feel, or what they think, or what they believe should be true, or any number of things. So as long as you hold that vision about yourself, that's the vibration that you're carrying about yourself, and it gets reflected outward, and the people around you pick up on that and they act accordingly. So that happened to me. So that feeling of not being valued or seen as your feelings aren't important, your boundaries aren't important, your space isn't important, all of this kind of stuff, especially if you're someone that has had your boundaries violated in a big way, which happened to me. I was sexually abused, and I was abused in a lot of different ways as a child. And I was taught that I didn't have boundaries, and I didn't have a space that was just my own, and that my space was also their space, and I didn't even have a say over my own space, much less the space that I shared with them. And so that carried on over into adulthood. It carried into my marriage. And the crazy thing about that is in my marriage, in order to overcompensate for that feeling, I ended up taking up all of the space in the house and not valuing the space of the people that were in my home that I shared, my husband and my children and stuff like that. That carried over. And I've been in a variety of circumstances since then where I've still carried that kind of hardcore belief that my thoughts, my feelings, my space, my boundaries, my whatever are not as important as the people around me. And if you've ever been a parent, whether you're a mother or a father, you may have placed your own boundaries and your own feelings and your own whatever at the bottom of priorities for other people. You've sacrificed yourself in order for them to have happiness. So that carries over, and then they treat you that way. So it's your responsibility to change that image of yourself first, and then to communicate that change over to the people that you love, to hold that image of yourself, but then also see them seeing you that way. And also send them the image of how much you love them. And that's why you've done that. You love them so much that you want them to be happy. You want them to feel the freedom that you never had. But you don't want to do it in such a way that you disregard your own freedom. You disregard your own space. And so therefore they do the same to you. Really super unconsciously. They may adore you. They don't even realize what they're doing. So you can change that image. So again, sometimes when you go to people with your newfound strength, grown up and mature, you find that within 5 minutes you're acting out old and mature roles. There's a saying, if you think you're evolved, if you think you're woke, just go spend time with your family and you'll find out how much that's really true. Rather than feeling unhappy with yourself about it, though, use that opportunity to look at the images your parents or your family members hold of you, and realize how affected you can be by other people's views of who you are. And this is so important. Take ownership of that. The way to shift it then is the minute that you become aware of other people's pictures of you, telepathically send them a higher image. Oftentimes what happens is you accept their pictures without question, and not only accept them, but act them out. When you do that, you're living other people's scripts for you rather than writing your own. You are dancing on their stage. As long as you do this, people who do not hold high thoughts about you will be detrimental to be around. But the solution isn't always about removing yourself. Like, there aren't any corners of the earth left where there aren't people. You can't hide forever. At some point, you got to take some of responsibility and do this work. So once you learn to recognize their images, you can begin to change them by sending them new pictures of yourself. Then you can be around them without feeling affected by their images if you choose to be around them. One way to free yourself from the grip of a rigid inner image is to exaggerate it in your mind to the point of ridiculousness. Say you are criticizing yourself for acting like a child around your parents or otherwise falling into old behavior. Rather than trying to be rigid and resisting acting this way around your parents, exaggerate it in your mind. Like, imagine yourself throwing yourself on the floor. You're a grown adult. You're a grown-ass adult, right? And you're throwing yourself on the floor and you're pitching a huge fit, throwing a temper tantrum. See yourself in your mind doing this. Really get into it. This really enables you to notice more easily what those images are. And as you exaggerate your images, you stop running from and fearing them, and then they cease to control you. You'll stop trying to walk on eggshells. Often as you exaggerate behavior, it triggers your humorous side, and then you can laugh at yourself, and this can free you from the grip of that behavior. You can change or eliminate obsessive thoughts and pictures you may flash over and over in your mind. Sometimes they're pictures of pain or memories of a time when someone abandoned or hurt you, or of a time when you did not get what you wanted. Many people experience a constant flow of negative pictures. Some of it comes from society's images of scarcity, from ideas that there is not enough, that you must work hard and struggle to get what you want, or that someone else's success takes away from yours. So think about recent events with when it really originally entered into our consciousness around this pandemic here in 2020, right? Like it was in February, March, that you had all these people buying up all of the toilet paper. And we can judge that, or we can try to understand it. Like, where was that coming from? Where was that coming from? It was coming from society's images of scarcity. Like, society is so afraid of scarcity. And that's rooted in images that go way, 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 way back. Like it's passed down from generation to generation. And then we act out unconsciously. Not everybody does it, but everybody had their own version of it. And I certainly experienced mine. I didn't go up and buy all the toilet paper, but I had my own images that I had to look at and that I had to breathe through and with to get to the other side. And I really relished that opportunity to dig deeper in a way that I might not have otherwise had the ability to do it under normal circumstances. People who are learning about spiritual transformation, higher consciousness, and love are broadcasting new, higher, lighter images to the world, including pictures of abundance. Pictures are easier for people to pick up than words. You've heard the phrase, I'm a visual person. Well, the reality is that everyone is a visual person, but not in the way that most of us think. In other words, your vision through your eyes is not the most reliable source of vision. It's not even the most powerful source of vision. It's the inner imagery that everyone carries. And people are better at this than they think. It's just that they're not paying any attention to what it is that they're broadcasting. As a spiritual teacher, I'm constantly broadcasting energy and transmitting images of love and peace. And I will be the first to admit that I'm still evolving. I'm finding deeper levels or deeper places or deep recesses where I'm not doing that. And some of the circumstances that show up in our life give us the opportunity to see where we're not still broadcasting higher images of people. I have to catch myself and change my imagery and change my views if I want to be of assistance in the evolution of humanity, if I really want to be of assistance. And this is true for you as well. You are equally as powerful as I am. It's just the difference between us is that I am more aware of what I'm sending out there than you might be. But it doesn't change your power. So this is why they say, if you want the world to change, be the change you want to see in the world. And that doesn't always equate to your actions. The things that you're doing has more to do with how you're being. And what does that mean? It goes back to the imagery. So even if you may not say something about someone to their face, how you are viewing them, they are still receiving that imagery. And as long as you are sending that imagery, you don't give them the opportunity to move to a higher octave of their being. There's a saying too with raising children. It's called catch 'em being good. And it's proof. There's proof that people do respond better when you acknowledge when they're doing something that feels good to you. But you don't have to wait for them to do that in order to do that. You can start doing that right now by holding a different image for them. And that's how powerful you are. And as you're doing that, you're actually changing your own mind about people. And watch how differently the world starts looking. So I take it as a great responsibility to walk my talk, and as much as I can to broadcast energy and transmit images of love and peace. And trust me, people are counting on me to do that. So anytime when I go into a shadow place and I say anything or project anything that is not a reflection of that, it's amazing the feedback that I get, both energetically and otherwise, maybe through words. It's, I pick up on that. And so I'm very much aware that I've stepped into a shadowy place. So the invitation is around this. If you want someone to change, send him or her images. For instance, say you want a person to be more productive. Rather than criticize or even hold that image in your mind that they're not productive, this sends a negative picture and reinforces the very behavior you'd like to change. Imagine the person being productive. Rather than point out the person's lack of accomplishments, acknowledge and praise each instance when he or she demonstrates the productivity you would like to experience more of. So again, you can do this outwardly. You can say the words, but you can also change that image to that one of productivity. You will be assisting him or her with your picture. And whether or not the person changes, you'll find the energy between you lightening up because you're not holding them in a gridlock. This is so important. This is going to be so important moving forward. And as you start doing that, and then giving other people the opportunity, teaching them the same thing, teaching them that they actually have that power to do that, you're changing the world person by person, less by the actions that you do and more by that. Your emotions are often less developed than your mind. Society teaches you to value your mind and intellect more than your emotions, and this is the reason why your emotions are less developed. A pretty fair number of people walking in the world never fully received the development of their emotions because of all of the shaming that they received for having them as a child. And so sometimes that gets frozen in time. That aspect of them gets frozen at the age that happened. So that's why you'll see grown people, adult people, elderly people even, responding to something that's triggering to them like a 2-year-old might. Because it's representative of something that they were shamed for having an emotion or a feeling about at the age of 2, or the age of 3, or 10, or 12, or 18, and never moving beyond that. There's much more attention paid to educating people's logical minds than to think and memorize than teaching people how to think in ways that uplift them. And this is called emotional intelligence. It's important to evolve your mind and mental pictures, for your thoughts can trigger strong emotional responses. So how free are you from the grip of your emotions? When you find yourself flashing a fearful picture in your mind over and over, and then feeling anger, pain, or fear. It's simply a cry from your emotions for attention and help, and most of all for love and acceptance. For instance, if you're feeling exceptionally anxious and you're constantly flashing pictures in your mind of a situation that brings up anxious feelings, there's a part of you that is crying out for help and love. Your higher self, your soul, is integrating all the parts of you and bringing them to a higher consciousness. Images that are obsessively painful are a cry from the part of you that longs to feel nurtured and loved. So give that to yourself. If you catch that part showing you negative pictures, convert those pictures into symbols or images and work with those symbols or images to make them look more beautiful in some way. And call on your higher self to help you feel better. And how do you do that? You just simply say to yourself, I call on my higher self to assist me with this. And remember to use your breath through all of this. Your breath is what is going to help you at any given time to integrate your emotions. So it's not just a mental activity, it's a body activity. It's happening in the body. So you use your breath to integrate. Everyone has a side that does not want to be light, joyful, or high in its images or thoughts. Take that side and imagine you are exposing it to the warmth of the sunlight, the warmth and the light of the sunlight, like it's a loving thing. And you're letting it breathe fresh air and visualize light coming into your negative or gloomy side. So instead of trying to change it with your will or push it out of your mind or anything like that, give it sunshine, give it light, give it warmth, give it fresh air to breathe. Breathe with that part of yourself. Within hours, you can feel less negative. You'll feel the shift. It could be within hours, it could be within minutes. Could be within seconds. Every time you do not allow this side to take over, you strengthen your will and you increase your connection to your higher self. Beliefs such as I'm a good person, I am a spiritual person, I am a loving person, both determine your behavior and can limit you. If you define yourself with a fixed image, such as, I am a nice person, you will constantly be judging what you do as nice or not nice. And as a result, you may actually forego your boundaries with another person for the sake of always being nice. If nice is defined rigidly for you, such as nice people always say thank you, and someone you like does not say it, you will either have to change your definition of nice or judge your friend as not nice. And so I'm going to ask you to just sit with that for a second. Which would be the better feeling thought? To change your rigid definition of what being nice is? Or to judge your friend as not nice? To judge your friend? Which one feels better? Does it feel better to judge your friend, or does it feel better to just release some of your controls around what you define as what being nice is. An inflexible image will trap you in the world of polarities, right versus wrong, good versus bad. Again, during this pandemic, we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing a lot of polarity. I'm right, you're wrong. You're good, I'm bad. Or I'm good, you're bad. I'm right, you're wrong. You're wrong, I'm right. And you have all these differing opinions. What if everybody's right? What if everybody's wrong? What if everybody's both right and wrong? Right? Instead of defining things and judging things in a certain way as like being right or wrong or good or bad, how about just like taking a step back and viewing them simply as they are, as just something that exists, and that you can decide whether or not to participate in it and just leave it as it is, just be in a place of neutral around it. Expand your definitions of who you and other people are. Examine and unlock your images. Let them become flexible and open rather than judgmental and closed. That creates so much pain. It's so painful, especially with people that you love. As long as you are comparing all your actions to fixed images of how you should be, you will be caught in the world of judgment and unable to evolve to higher levels. To release images, become consciously aware of them. Honor your conscious mind. The time you spend analyzing yourself while in a peaceful state brings your unconscious into consciousness. And it's through this process that evolution occurs. Every time you find a negative or limiting self-image, imagine light coming into it. Imagine sunlight and warmth coming into it. It's that simple. You need not do anything else. If you do want to put more energy into it, though, you can find a symbol and play with it, evolving the symbol and making it more beautiful in some way. Like if you have a special affinity for roses, you can apply it with sunlight and a rose, if that helps you. Or like if you're somebody who really loves lilies, you can use lilies or puppies. Any kind of beautiful image that you can pass on with that light when you find that negative or limiting self-image. So whether it's a negative image about someone else or a limiting negative self-image, you can do that. I personally like to use the symbol of a rose. The rose of all the flowers on the earth are considered to have the highest vibrational frequency available. So I like to use the rose. But if it's easier, you can simply imagine light coming into the picture, and that will change it for the better. But just, start using your imagination consciously. So what do you want? You might spend a lot of time thinking about what you do not want. As a society, this is what we do. We spend an inordinate amount of time thinking about what we do not want. And the crazy thing about that is while we're thinking about what we don't want, we're trying to do physical things. We're trying to do the things that are the opposite of what we don't want. So we're trying to do things that are in alignment with what we do want, while still carrying the images of what we don't want. And so energetically, this is like pushing a boulder up a hill in a snowstorm. Like, it just doesn't work. So any actions that you're doing out in the world, you are sabotaging them as long as you're holding the opposite belief of what you're really wanting. You might spend a great deal of your time thinking of what you do not want, and maybe filling your mind and spirit with pictures of injuries or wrongs that others did to you. Like, I know some people that spend an inordinate amount of time focused on this. It's like an addiction for them. They spend so much of their time and their energy and their mind focused on all the wrongs that have been done to them, that they literally keep themselves in a prison of their own mind. So they're actually creating more damage to themselves by continuing to do that is far greater than anything that anyone has ever done or said to them. So every time you flash those pictures in your mind, you're literally sending them out to the future and creating them again. This is the very definition of what creating your reality means. Once you recognize that your inner vision is more powerful than your outer vision, and that you are already powerful and you are already creating from that inner vision, and you have the power to change it, this will be life-changing. Negative things happen to you only to show you an image you are carrying that is not aligned with your higher good. Thank anything to which you respond negatively, anything you label as a problem, for bringing your attention to a part of you that needs healing, growth, and more light. Really begin to use your imagination. This is where artists are amazing, right? And we just think artists are just so incredible and so amazing, and we admire them. But all they've done is they've taken the ability, they go into their inner images of something that they want to create, and they bring it into form by way of a painting or music or whatever. And the thing is that you can be an artist of life. I will be offering a workshop after this one that is about doing exactly that, about like really deepening into that process of actively creating your life and approaching life as an artist and fully embracing yourself as an artist. So use your imagination to picture the highest spiritual path you can take, to create a vision of why you're here. You get to decide. You aren't limited by anything, no matter what has happened to you, no matter whatever preconceived notions of limitation or anything that you believe stands in the way. That is as a result of the inner image you hold of yourself and bears nothing on your future. You get to decide your future. Your past did happen, and you can acknowledge it, and You can have a takeaway, like what elements of your past that you really love would you like to carry through to your future? An artist does this in their paintings as well. Like, a lot of artists have a signature about them. A lot of artists have this signature. It's a thread that they carry through in all of their paintings. And they're so good at it that people who study their art can recognize their paintings just based on that signature. And so for you, that can be your soul signature in whatever painting of life that you want to create, or whatever song of life that you want to create. Take those threads that you love and carry them forward into the next thing that you want to create, and that will tie it all together. And you'll begin to understand that everything you've experienced in life brought you to this point. And it can be a pivotal power point for you to recognize in moving into your future. And so how do you do this? You can start by taking a deep breath. Always taking a deep breath. Or 2 or 3 or 10. And ask yourself, what is the most spiritual thing I can do with my life? Right here, right now. Even if you're still under quarantine and you feel limited because you're not able to do the same things you were doing before, what's the most spiritual thing I can do with my life right now? Beyond the forms you create, what is your highest aim? What is the most important thing you want to do? It may be that you want to evolve into your soul's consciousness. You want to grow spiritually as fast as you comfortably can handle, whether it's as a healer or to fulfill your highest purpose. And then hold that vision every day. Spend far less time holding the old version of yourself, the old version of limitations and reasons and whatever you might have for staying exactly the same, which, by definition is insanity, right? That saying, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Well, this is true of the pictures that you hold about yourself and other people as well. Go as high as you possibly can with your imagination. Fantasize about your perfect life, and remember that it's a fantasy. Of course, it doesn't feel real because it isn't real yet. And an important aspect of that is to have that fantasy and then just let go of the details of it. Just notice how you feel. The higher you go, the more you connect with your higher self. And the more quickly the images and thought forms that do not fit your growth will start to dissolve. And the easier it will become to hold higher images of yourself and other people. The process will get easier. That's why it's called work. It feels like work at first. It feels like an effort at first. Just like connecting your breath after not doing it for so long. It feels like effort. It feels like work, because it is. But once you've created a new pattern, it gets easier and easier and easier. Now, when you're doing that, don't just reach ahead, a year or two, but also ask, what could be my greatest accomplishment during this lifetime? Don't worry about the form or how you'll do it. So, like I said, when you're playing with that fantasy, don't get too attached to the imagery of it, that it has to play out in exactly that same way. Just use that as a way to play. And notice how you feel when you're doing it, and then just let it go. Every time you create one picture or vision, you open the door to an even greater picture. And artists understand this quite a bit. Unless you're an artist that wants to create exactly the same painting over and over again, you've got to be the kind of artist that is willing to let go of your images and just keep kind of those common threads that you really enjoy throughout all of your paintings or throughout all of your expressions of what you're wanting to create. Artists have to do that all the time. They have to let go. But yeah, don't just think in the short term. Think in the long term. One of the questions I like to ask myself when I'm doing something, when I'm not really quite sure whether or not it's really truly important for me to be upset about, and it really helps me a lot, is I say to myself, is what is happening right now really going to matter at the end of my life? Like, is what is happening right now going to be something that is going to run across my awareness in my life review? If the answer to that is no, then be willing to release that image. How you respond to what is happening in the moment might, though. Especially if you don't take the opportunity to choose something different. Every time you create one picture or vision, you open the door to open an even greater picture. So now, play a little bit. Hold an image in front of you. Take a deep breath. Let the energy of that image come into your body. Breathe it in. Become consciously aware of the light in everything you do, and you will evolve rapidly in this lifetime. And then know that other people will reflect back to you every image you carry within, whether it's of them, of you, or of a thing. If they say something negative to you and evoke a strong response, thank them in your mind for reflecting back to you an image of yourself you need to change. When you carry images such as I am powerful, I truly love and value myself, I have enough money, enough love, and so forth, you will begin to experience other people sending those images back to you and also responding to you that way as well. Consciously send others higher images. Hold a vision of your higher self in everything you do. Honor the higher self in everyone you meet, and you will find it honored in you. And now begin to get yourself ready for the meditation segment of this episode. Go ahead and get yourself a drink of water, use the restroom, whatever you need to do, and then begin getting prepared to get into a comfortable position. Welcome to the meditation segment of this episode. And so getting yourself into a comfortable position, either sitting up or lying down. If you're sitting up, making sure that your back is straight. Taking a stance in either your lying down or sitting up position as being open, palms open by your side. Really opening to receive. Begin connecting your breath. Part of your intention here, as with all meditations, is to breathe in light, to breathe in sunlight, to breathe in your highest potential. And on the exhale, be willing to release anything that does not serve your highest potential. And just simply having that intention alone is enough. Breathing in, letting go. Breathing in light, letting go what is not your highest potential. And as you're breathing in your highest potential, breathing in sunlight from all directions. You're breathing in light that comes in from the sun, from the stars, from the galactic center, the center of our galaxy. Imagine breathing that in to every cell and every molecule. Breathing it into your skin, into your bloodstream, your veins, your arteries, your lymphatic system. Breathing into all of your organs. With every breath in, breathing in as deeply as you can, down to the bone marrow and all the cells in your bone marrow, to the molecules. So much so that you become completely saturated with the light of your highest potential that emanates from the galactic center, from the stars, from the sun, and from the earth as well. The earth holds an enormous amount of light. As the sun shines on it, the earth holds in that heat and that light and uses that energy to grow everything on earth. So imagine that light coming from the earth as well. And then calling in your I am presence, your soul. I like to just say it as I am presence, please be present. I am presence, please be present. I am presence, please be present. I say that 3 times. And you might experience this as a warmth flowing into your body, And if you don't automatically experience this, it's okay. Know that it's happening even if you can't feel it. Know that your I am presence, your soul, your higher self, it's never not with you. It's just that in these moments, we are acknowledging the presence. We're calling our awareness, we're calling our minds, we're calling our bodies to be aware of that presence. So it's never not with you. It is you. So you never have to worry about that ever not being true. It is always true. We get in our own way of our awareness of our presence. But it can't happen through will, and it can't happen through pushing or forcing. It only comes through allowing. So that's why it's important to allow your body to be open. That's why we use the breath, we use that receiving, that softness. We soften our bodies as much as possible. We soften our mind as much as possible. We don't try to think it into being, we just allow it. And over time, it will become effortless. So continuing to breathe. And we're going to take an aspect of yourself, an image that you hold of yourself in your daily routine, whether it's a belief that you should have, or it's a belief that you do have about yourself that you don't like, or that you're uncomfortable with. One other thing that you could do is, let's say you have a circumstance in which the people around you are reflecting something back to you through their behavior. Can you find in yourself something, an inner narrative that you're running about yourself, an inner image that you're running about yourself that is a reflection of how they're behaving? How does that feel? Think about something recent that you felt hurt by, that someone said to you or someone did to you. Do you hold some kind of image in your own mind about yourself that's a reflection of that? Now I want you to let yourself feel the pain of that. Feel how painful that is. And as painful as it is to have someone reflect that back to you, imagine how painful it is to be running that narrative, to have that self-talk or that image about yourself all of the time. Really feel the pain of that. And rather than suppress that image, I'd like to invite you to take that image outside into the sunlight. Let it receive the warmth and the light of the sunlight. Let it breathe fresh air. Breathe with it. Breathe it in, give it air, give it oxygen, give it space. Acknowledge it, see it, feel it. And rather than shaming this part of you, invite a new image, a higher image instead, to come in. And imagine it enveloping that old image. And while you're doing that, call on the people that you are close to, that you love, that love you, to surround you. And to also hold you in that image. And take it one step further. Imagine your ancestors, or the people that you have loved, that have crossed over, that have moved on, that have transitioned. And imagine that they're standing around you, and they too are holding a vision of this higher version of yourself, superimposed on the old version. And imagine that all of these people, the ones that are in your present, the ones that are in your past, the ones that have crossed over, maybe even the ones that were your ancestors that you never met, not only are they holding this higher version of you, but they are also holding you in sunlight. They're holding you in light. They're holding you in the light that emanates from the galactic center, from the center of the galaxy, from the light from the stars that burn brighter than the sun. The stars appear small in the sky, but many stars are actually brighter than our own sun and bigger than our own sun. So be willing to receive that light as well. Receiving that not only from yourself, from the people that are close to you, the people that you love and that love you, the people who have crossed over, people who are your ancestors, the people who you have loved. Could even be pets, could be animals that you've had, that you've loved and that have crossed over. Could even be the pets that you have now. Now, take it one step further. And call on the angelic realm. Archangel Raphael, who comes from the east, from the direction of the rising sun, the symbol of the Caduceus, which is that symbol of the crystal wand wrapped by two serpents, and at the top have two wings, and it's golden. And surrounding that image is the light of emerald green. And hold that image of yourself, that higher potential, as well as the image that you once held about yourself. Surround it in that emerald green light. Surround it and have it be completely absorbed by this green light. And then to the south, Archangel Michael. And the symbol is the sword of truth, sword of light. And imagine this sword of light surrounded by electric blue light. And imagine that you too are surrounded by this electric blue light. So much so that you're completely emblazoned and absorbed in this blue flame. So now simultaneously, this image of yourself is completely engulfed in the emerald green and the electric blue flame. And then moving to the west, Archangel Gabriel, symbolized by a chalice, silver chalice. And imagine this silver chalice, representative of abundance, is overflowing. It's full to the brim and overflowing, and it's flowing. It's not just full, but it's overflowing. And imagine this chalice is surrounded by diamond white flame, completely engulfed in this diamond white flame. And now imagine yourself in your highest potential, superimposing over that old version of yourself that you love and accept and adore and appreciate for bringing you this far, is also now engulfed in the diamond white flame, along with the electric blue flame and the emerald green flame, completely engulfed and absorbed into every facet and fiber of your being. And now, calling on Archangel Uriel in the north, the symbol is the five-pointed star, five-pointed golden star with a circle around it. It's golden. And as you focus on this symbol, an image of ruby red fire comes up, this ruby red flame, and this five-pointed star with the golden circle around it is engulfed in this ruby red flame. And then bring this ruby red flame to the image of your highest potential, whatever that might be, superimposed over the vision you've had of yourself that you've loved and embraced and accepted and given light and breath and all of the flames of the other directions, the other angels, the other archangels. Call this ruby red flame to completely engulf that part of you, to be absorbed in the highest potential, along with the diamond white flame, the electric blue flame, and the emerald green flame. 4 fires, 4 archangels surrounding you, holding you in your highest potential and your highest light, surrounding you with the light of the galactic center, the center of the galaxy, the light from stars that are out in space that appear small from Earth, but many are actually bigger than the sun. And then also, last but not least, the light of the sun. Archangels are also holding you in that space, as well as your personal angels, your guardian angels, your spirit guides, animal guides, helpers, and allies are all holding you in your highest potential. In any given moment, and allowing there to be some flexibility around what that image is, allowing it to move like water and to change and to transform in any moment. And now call on Archangel Sandalphon, the archangel of the earth below. The symbol is the rose. So archangel of the earth energy, silver white flame. The rose is completely engulfed in this silver white flame. Now bring this silver white flame along with the other flames that are burning bright for you. The ruby red of Archangel Uriel, the diamond white of Archangel Gabriel, the electric blue of Archangel Michael, the emerald green of Archangel Raphael, along with the silver white of Archangel Sandalphon and the ruby and the red rose, completely engulfed, your highest potential superimposing over the old version that you held of yourself, that you now love and accept and embrace and love for bringing you as far as it did. And Archangel Sandalphon comes from the earth, so imagine the earth is holding you as well, holding the image of your highest potential in relationship to it, in relationship to her. And now calling on Archangel Metatron from above, from the galactic center. The symbol is golden infinity symbol. And the flame is a golden white flame, a pure golden white flame. Imagining this infinity symbol, this continuum of no beginning and no end. It's a continuum of ever unfolding, of ever becoming, completely surrounded by this golden white flame, this pure golden white flame. And now bringing this golden white flame to your highest potential, the highest potential of which the form can change at any time. It can go in and it can go out, it can go back and forth, up and down. It could be one way 1 minute and another way the next, allowing that flexibility and that movement and that flow. But the continuity is the soul of who you are, which is ever present. Bringing that golden white flame into that highest potential that is superimposing over the version of you that has brought you this far, that has been completely loved and accepted and seen and been of service to you. That golden white flame now is completely engulfing that, along with the silver white flame of Archangel Sandalphon from the earth, Archangel Uriel, the ruby red flame, Archangel Gabriel, the diamond white flame, Archangel Michael, the electric blue flame, Archangel Raphael, the emerald green flame. All 6 of these archangels are holding these flames in your highest potential, along with your ancestors that have passed on, some that you may have met or not, and those that you have loved that have passed on, along with those that are in your present. And now, I want you to imagine a circle of people that may include your current circle of people that you love, and that love you, that are close to you. This circle expands and it allows others to come into the circle that hold you also in this highest potential. All of these beings, your highest self, your spirit guide, your animal guides, guardian angels, helpers, and allies, aligned with your highest potential, all holding you in your highest potential and thanking you for all that you are up to this point and moving forward. And now just letting your breath be easy and just bathing in this light. Opening to receive all of it. Opening to receive your highest potential. Opening to receive new images. Opening to create new images. Fully loved as you are. in your highest potential, fully loved and seen and appreciated as the love that you are. Imagine this place is so peaceful. It's like a drizzling rain, a nice steady drizzling, relaxing rain, deeply nourishing. Receiving it deeply. And now, thanking all of the archangels, as they step back, thanking all of the ancestors as they step back. Thanking your higher self as it steps back, always with you. Thanking spirit guides, guardian angels, helpers and allies, the angelic forces of light as they step back. Bringing your awareness back into the room, back into your body. Taking some deep breaths now. Wiggling your fingers and your toes. Moving your body around. Moving your hips back and forth to just kind of help bring your awareness back into your body. And feel free to repeat this meditation as often as you wish, to attend to different circumstances as they show up, to give you the ability to evolve your inner images, to release your true self. All of these meditations are designed to be used as often as you wish, so feel free to revisit them all. Thank you for joining me for this episode. And we will talk to you soon. Namaste.